Hi, hey, hello, how are you? And welcome back to my channel. I'm Hope, and today I am going to be sharing with you every single book that I read in the month of April. I read 5 books in April, not the most impressive, I know, but I can't let a month go by without talking about what books I've read. So, the first book that I read in April was Paper Doll: Notes from a Late Bloomer by Dylan Mulvaney. This is a nonfiction book. It just came out recently and I gave it 5 stars. I have been following Dylan Mulvaney for quite a while on Instagram, and I knew that she had done a lot on TikTok, but I personally don't have a TikTok, so I didn't know her backstory and like how she came to be this famous, iconic woman that she is today. So I really enjoyed getting to hear how she kind of rose to fame. I thought it was really interesting. The format of the book kind of switches back and forth between what's happening, not necessarily present day, but in more recent years. And then it'll also talk about Dylan when she was younger and her experience kind of like as a kid and in high school and college and everything. And I feel like her story is just really inspiring, and I really enjoyed getting this little sneak peek into her life and getting to know more about her personality and hearing a lot of the stories that she doesn't tell on the internet. I thought it was really interesting and fun, and I would definitely recommend it. And I feel like it also made me want to read more biographies. I have no hate against biographies, but I just don't find myself naturally gravitating towards them as often. But I feel like this book made me want to seek out more biographies by people that I find really interesting. So I feel like this book was definitely a win, and it's another nonfiction. Look at me go, guys. I have been reading so many more nonfiction books this year than I did last year, and I am honestly really proud of myself for it. I feel that it was time. It was time to get back into the nonfiction game, and I'm proud of myself for it. After Paper Doll, I read Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. In January, I read Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I quite enjoyed it, and then I decided that I was gonna go through and read all of her books. So this is me continuing to do that. I read Normal People after Intermezzo, and then I read Conversations with Friends. And I have to say, I didn't super enjoy it. I didn't really love the characters or the plot. The story is told from the perspective of a character called Frances. She has this really close friend, Bobby, who is also her ex-girlfriend from childhood. And the whole story is kind of about their relationship that they have with this couple that they meet, and kind of how tangled and messy it gets, honestly. I would just say from the top, I don't really feel like this is like a spoiler because you kind of know it's coming from the beginning, and I think it also might be in the synopsis, but there is definitely some cheating in this book. There are affairs, and that's something that honestly really bothers me. I really don't like reading books where things like that happen, and so I should have known from the beginning that I probably wasn't really gonna like this book. But that aside, that's not the only thing that I didn't like. I honestly was not a fan of really any of the characters, but especially not Frances, as she's like the main character. You're in her head the whole time. I just felt like she wasn't somebody that I really empathized with. I have said in the past that I feel like the way that Sally Rooney writes characters is very holistic. I feel that she really likes to flesh these characters out and give them lots of realistic character traits. Everyone is an amalgamation of all the choices that they make. They are good and bad. They are not just like the bad guys and then like the good guys. And also, if you haven't read any of her books, none of the stories that she writes are like necessarily linear. They're more like slice of life. It's just a period of time in these characters' lives that you get to watch. And I find that really interesting. I will say I really enjoy Sally Rooney's writing style. I think she's an incredible writer. I just felt like this book, this story, and these characters weren't my thing. I read this book from the library, and honestly, I didn't like it enough to own it, so I'm glad that I didn't spend my money on it. I also read Intermezzo and Normal People from the library, and I did end up buying a copy of Normal People because I liked it that much. I would buy a copy of Intermezzo as well, but because it's so new, it's only been released in the hardcover edition, and I personally am a paperback girly, so I will be waiting till it's released in paperback and then I will buy it. But Conversations with Friends was just not, it was not my favorite. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I would say you have to read the synopsis and know yourself and know what you like and then decide whether or not you're gonna read it. But overall, I wouldn't just give it like a general recommendation. I wouldn't just be like, yeah, you should read this book, it's great. Because like honestly, it's not. A lot of it's really sad and kind of disturbing. Yeah, so I ended up giving this book 2 stars, unfortunately, but I am glad that I read it because it's helping me reach my goal of reading all of her work. Then I read Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. This, I believe, is only available in audiobook form. I know that it was originally produced for Spotify, but I was able to listen to it on the Libby Library app, so I don't know, but I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked this. I felt like this was Ali Hazelwood's return to what she's best at. It's not actually a STEM romance. It's about 2 characters that create video games. So it's like, I mean, it's geeky, sure, but it's not STEM, but it's also not Bride. So that's a win for me. I appreciate that. This romance is forced proximity and it is also enemies to lovers. So if you love those tropes, you're gonna love this. Also, it's really short. The audiobook was like just over 4 hours, I think. So it's not too long, but you get that like good romance, warm and fuzzies that you want. Also, it's spicy, so there's that. But yeah, I give it 4 stars, and if they ever do print it in book form, I would love to own it because honestly it was really cute and I feel like I would read it again. Then I read the long-awaited Wild and Wrangled, the 4th and final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage. This makes me so sad that I am holding in my hands right now the last book in that series. That series is so special to me. I love it so much and I'm heartbroken that it's over. However, I do feel that this book was an amazing way to end the series. I feel like Lila Sage really, she did her big one. She wrapped up all the storylines perfectly and I'm so proud of her for just being amazing. This book did not disappoint whatsoever. I gave it 5 stars just like the rest of them. This book is about Cam and Dusty, and these are 2 characters that you're hearing little bits and pieces about throughout the other books, and you know that they've got a history but you have no idea what it was because nobody will talk about it. And so in this one, you're going back and forth like kind of every other chapter between present day, them like, you know, sussing each other out, trying to decide like, do we want to try a second chance at a relationship, a second chance romance, if you will. And then also how they got their start and the beginning of the relationship back when they were in high school. And that was so cute. I feel like when I think of romance tropes that I really like, I always forget about second chance romance, but I really love it. I really do, especially when it's second chance romance, best friends to lovers. I will eat that shit up every day of the week, and that's exactly what this baby was right here. So I highly recommend this series. Every time I talk about it, that's what I say, and it's 100% true. This romance series is amazing, and I'm so excited for whatever Lila Sage is gonna put out next because I know it's gonna be amazing. But yeah, I'm so glad that this came out and I got to read it, and I finally bought one of them, guys. I was reading all of these books from the library and I was like, one day I'm gonna own all of them. And then my wife bought this for me for our anniversary. So now I have to go get the other ones as well so that I have a complete set. And then lastly, I read Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, and I have now completed my Sally Rooney fixation, if you will. I think there's one last one that's like a short story. I'm not sure if I'm gonna read that. We'll see. But I just finished this the other day and I gave it 3 stars. So I definitely liked it more than Conversations with Friends. But I feel that the main characters in this book were more likable than the ones in Conversations with Friends, but still, I didn't feel as attached to them as I did with Marianne and Colin. His name's not Colin. As I did with Marianne and Connell in Normal People. I felt like very attached to those characters. That's not how I felt with this book. I think that it was interesting, and once again, I love Sally Rooney's writing. There's something about the way that she describes Ireland that's so beautiful. There are scenes in Conversations with Friends where they're in France for a little while, and that's just beautiful. Like, I feel like listening to an audiobook of a Sally Rooney book just makes me want to eat bread outside and have a picnic, and there are flowers blooming, and none of this makes sense. But basically the atmosphere is just so rich. The way that she paints the backdrop to these scenes with these characters, it's just amazing, and I'm in awe of her writing. So I obviously loved that part of it, but I don't think I would own it. I don't think I would read it again, but I would recommend it. I do feel like there are a lot more redeeming qualities about this book. This book follows 4 main characters. You've got Eileen and Alice, and they have been best friends since college, and this book takes place when they're around like 29, 30, I think. And then you've got Felix, who is somebody that Alice has just met. And then you've also got Simon, who is friends with Alice and Eileen, but had grown up with Eileen because they were next door neighbors. I thought that the way that all of these characters like intertwine is interesting for sure. But again, there are a lot of parts where it's just kind of sad. I do feel that all of Sally Rooney's books have a very melancholy vibe. So that's definitely a factor. If you're not into that whatsoever, skip this author for sure. I don't love sad books in general, but I wouldn't say that these are sad books. I just feel like they have a melancholy vibe in the sense that these are realistic feeling characters and realistic things happen to them. Like in real life, bad things happen and it sucks. And then you kind of watch these characters like go through it. So all that being said, I gave this one 3 stars, and I'm really glad that I have read all of her work now. So those are all the books that I read in April. I hope you enjoyed hearing about all of them. Please comment down below. Tell me what was your favorite book that you read in April. I'd like to know. If you like this video, you can give it a like. If you like me and my channel, you can subscribe. You can hit that little bell icon and get notified every single time that I post. I feel like I've been doing a lot better at posting lately. All of my social media links are in the description below. If you'd like to follow me on any other platform, you can do that. And I will see you next time. Bye!